When people turn to healthcare for weight loss, they're looking for real support. That's why more people are choosing OrderlyMeds.com. Orderly Meds connects you with real doctors and access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide. No guessing, just a more supportive experience. And all shipped directly to your door in discreet packaging. Do your research. Ask questions. Then visit OrderlyMeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. That's OrderlyMeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Welcome back to the Center in the City podcast, a space to pause, breathe, and come back to yourself, even in the middle of a full and busy life. I'm your host, Wade Brill, and in each episode, we explore mindfulness for real life, simple practices, reflections, tools to help you feel grounded, present, and connected to what matters most to you. So let's settle in and let's get centered. Welcome back to the Center in the City podcast. I'm your host, Wade Brill, and I am so glad you are here. In today's sole episode, we're going to talk about how to find these quiet moments while we live in a loud city. Now, when I say city, I'm talking about the literal city, like navigating life in a loud, bustling city, but I'm also talking about city in a figurative way, in a way that just demonstrates our modern day world where there's so much noise with pings and dings and bells and whistles and attention and flashiness that come across our attention. Being a born and raised New Yorker, having lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina, living in Seattle, now living in Spain for a few months near Barcelona, I've spent a lot of time living and visiting loud, bustling cities. And there's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from living in the cities. And I'm not just talking about like physical exhaustion, there's also the sense of like exhilarating exhaustion, right? Cities are magical. There's so much happening, so much stimulation, so much noise. Cities are full of curiosity, like exploring this little street and bopping into this store, going to this museum, sitting and trying this cafe, trying this type of food, right? There's so much looking up at this building and this architecture versus that architecture, and let's check out this park. And so there's so much going on. And when we're spending time within our city walls, when the noise of the city is right outside the windows, there's still this constant hum. There's still the noise of movement, of honking, of life, vibration outside of us. There's such a pulse to it. And it's a pulse that you can feel. It's calling your name all of the time to go do, to go explore. There's a feeling that everything is happening all the time and that the city doesn't stop. So today, I want to talk to you about how we can find these quiet moments while we're living and navigating city life. And when I say quiet, I'm not necessarily referring to silence, walking into a library, even though that sounds beautiful. But I'm even just talking about these moments that feel like space. These moments where we can exhale. These moments where we can think a little bit more clearly. These moments where we can feel our body in this present moment. So wherever you are listening to this episode, while you're on a walk, cooking dinner, commuting, transitioning, I welcome you to settle in and let's get centered. This episode is sneakily helping you think about bringing your mindfulness practice to sounds in your life, to sounds in the world, helping you bring awareness to your relationship to sounds. And if you're curious to learn more about how to deepen or start or expand a meditation and mindfulness practice, right now is the perfect time to join me and an amazing group of like-minded people for Mindfulness in May. This is going to be a month-long program where we are deepening our meditation practice together, where you're going to learn how to be with your thoughts and emotions in skillful ways, so that you can manage the overwhelm and stress of life with more care and capacity. We start this Sunday, May 3rd, so sign up in the show notes and join us. cities have this particular pulse and energy to them. I know that whenever I land back home in New York City, there's this felt sense that takes over my body. I start to feel this energy rise up from my feet all the way to my head. And this armor gets built around my chest, and my shoulders get more broad, and my spine gets more tall, and my feet feel more firm. And I am just ready to tromp through the streets and feel that city pulse within my body. And there's this moment that you know your body is walking and navigating a city. Just the other day when I took the train into Barcelona, there's this feeling of, I am here. I am around a lot more people. I am around a lot more stimulation. And it's both exciting, exhilarating, life-giving, and also a little bit overwhelming. The noise increases, the sound of traffic and construction. Maybe the air smells different, maybe a little bit more pollution or a little bit more garbage or a little bit more floral. So I welcome you to pause here and think back to the last time that you walked the streets of a city. Was it this morning when you went out to get your morning coffee or bagel? Was it last month when you visited a city? Just pause and notice, what did it feel like when you entered that environment? The hustle, the noise, the stimulation. And now, just like the environment of a city that's always pulsating, it's always on, barely is it fully asleep, our minds can be like cities. Our lives can feel like cities, that pulsating energy of always being on, always being connected, whether it's through our phones or our computers or through the stimulation of just the modern day world. Now, when life feels full, whether it's literally navigating city life or the figurative sense of city life, when it feels loud and full, we think about needing to escape the noise, getting out of the city, finding the perfect calming environment. But that's not necessarily the case. The real quiet happens when we connect to our internal world in a different way. So even when life feels really loud, internally and externally, the ability to be with yourself, the ability to find some spaciousness amid the loud noise is where we get to actually create environments of calm. And now a caveat here is that calm is not necessarily something we think we always want it, but sometimes calm can actually come with a backlash. And I created a whole podcast episode where I go into the dangers of what the world tells us that we should be creating calm all the time, where sometimes that can be just a way to shut down our emotional response and our nervous system response when we actually don't really want calm, when we actually need some movement and energy to either get shit done or to protect ourselves or to take action. So if you're curious to learn more and explore this lens of calm, check out the show notes for the link. But in this episode, as I talk about calm, I'm really highlighting this ability for us to find this quiet spaciousness within us amid the loud bustling of life and living in a city. This ability, this skill to be with ourselves, even when life feels so loud around us, right? How we can come back to ourselves instead of trying to control external situations and environments that we don't really have control over. And I remember learning this firsthand when I started meditating years ago. I was sitting in my apartment in New York City. I had a pillow on the ground and I was looking out at the window, Central Park North. And you could think, wow, that looks really beautiful and calm and so picturesque and what you think of as a prime, quote unquote, meditation space. But let me tell you, even though I was on the 15th floor and surrounded by soundproof windows, the noise is real. the honking of the taxi drivers, the honking of the buses, the construction noise that was happening to the west of our building, the drilling, the screaming, the dogs barking, the sound of the elevator coming up and down, neighbors in the hallway. And I remember sitting there in my meditation practice feeling so irritated by the noise. I was screaming internally to the construction workers, shut the F up. I just felt this rage within me. And it was so interesting because to observe my internal reaction to it, the tightening of my jaw, the tightening of my shoulders to this noise in the external environment, was this awareness I had of how deeply I wanted to control everything around me, and yet how I couldn't. And that was when I was really able to connect these concepts that I had learned about in meditation and mindfulness, right? That we can't control the weather around us, but what we can learn how to do is be in relationship to it in a different way. So as I started to hear the sounds, it wasn't about shutting it out or ignoring it, because that's living in a delusional alternate universe. Instead, it's about bringing mindfulness to it, about bringing this curious and accepting and kind quality of attention to whatever I'm experiencing in the moment. Not judging it, not making it right, wrong, good, or bad, not wishing it was softer or louder, not wishing it shut off for 10 minutes and came back on after my meditation practice, just being with what I was hearing in the moment. And so I sat there and I let myself notice the strong emotional reaction in my body and in my mind. And I invited it to settle. I invited it to soften. I invited myself to accept what was here. And acceptance is one of the most powerful actions we can take in almost any circumstance of our life. When we accept the noise, when we accept the situation, when we accept the truth of the moment, we become deeply connected to the present moment. We're not in a story of our mind of what we hope the situation would be or what we expected it to be or what we wanted it to be, but we're just at face value with it. And we can see it clearly when we can accept something. We can see what's here and not necessarily have an attitudinal twinge to it. We're just looking at it from a factual base of like, what's here in this moment. So as I sat there, I accepted that there was noise. I accepted that there was tension in my body. I accepted that I wanted to scream. And then I offered this sense of lightness, like this kind of joyful, laughing kindness quality to the moment. Like, oh my God, you're really trying to fight with these construction workers, Wade, like not this judging myself, but just kind of this like making fun of myself, but in a very sweet way. And I started to change the internal dialogue to what was happening. And I started to bring this lightness to the moment. And when I could see how activated my mind got trying to think I could scream at these construction workers and they would hear me, I was able to soften that. And I could then just hear the noise, as music. And it wasn't music that I was saying, oh, I like that or I don't like that. It was just what was happening in the present moment. Like, oh, right now I hear drilling. Right now, I feel the vibration of the construction in my body. Right now, there's tension. And this is what one of the magical gifts of mindfulness can do for us, is it creates spaciousness. So my mind that was full of so much tension and constriction and agitation, it started to open, it started to bloom, and there was space around my present moment experience. And with that spaciousness, I actually felt a sense of freedom. I felt a sense of ease. Like, oh, I can be with the noise of life and it doesn't have to rock me to my soul. I can still be here as this mountain, breathing and being, and not letting myself get worked up or irritated about what's happening around me. And this is equanimity. This is a practice of finding some calm and balance amid the winds and spectrums of life when life is pleasant and unpleasant. It's about finding this neutral ground where we can just be and breathe. So when we're navigating life in the literal and figurative cities, it's so important, I have found, to come back to this place of equanimity, to this place of internal quietness when there's this hustling and bustling and noise all around us. And it could happen in the moments, when you're walking down the street and getting agitated or annoyed by people walking in front of you or tourists walking in front of you. Sometimes that really happens to me. Like, I am such a power walker and I just can bulldoze through the streets, and I can get very agitated when they're too crowded or they're more challenging to navigate. And it's like, why get worked up? Why get worked up by all of that chaos, so to say? And if you're somebody who drives in the city, right, you know this so well, of getting trapped in traffic and the honking and the noise and the double parking and the bikes and the delivery trucks. And when you're commuting through the city or coming home from work or going to work, there's all that overstimulation of squeezing into the subway and, again, walking through the streets and just trying to be a fish swimming through the sea when it feels really crowded can be very overstimulating. It can put a lot of people on edge. Here in Spain, even though Barcelona is a slower paced city, there's still a hustle and bustle. And it's very interesting because grocery stores are somewhere where I notice this tension, where typically, not all, but many grocery stores here in Spain that I've been to tend to have a really long line. And so there's this idea that I have to wait, that I have to slow down and wait. And if you're somebody who also comes from a different culture like me, where waiting is really hard. In America, we don't like waiting. It's why a lot of people order groceries or get things delivered, because they want things on their time, and time is money. And so I need to be super efficient with my time. And this is where I want to offer us a moment to all pause as we're navigating the loudness of literal and figurative cities, is to find these moments of pause wherever we can, whether it's we're walking down the street and we're at a red light, we're stopped at a traffic light in the car, we're at the grocery store line, we're waiting for the subway or the bus. We just ordered our morning coffee and we're waiting for it to be prepared for us. These micro moments are perfect moments to pause and come back to ourselves. These are moments where we can find and create a mindful moment instead of filling it. Because what can tend to happen is we're waiting in line at the grocery store, we're waiting for our coffee, or we're waiting for the train or the light to change, and we take out our phone and we fill the space with more noise, with more congestion, with more overstimulation. So in these moments, these micro moments that you can find throughout your day, waiting for an elevator, waiting for a meeting to begin if you're in Zoom or in person, washing your hands after you went to the bathroom. These micro moments where you can find your feet, feel your body, feel your breath. Take a moment to check in with yourself. Observe what's here, whether you like it or you don't like it, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, just to name it. Like right now, I'm thirsty. Right now, I feel tension in my shoulders. Right now, I feel anxious for this meeting. Right now, I feel so much joy and gratitude. Can we name what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're even doing? Take this mindful moment to check in and then proceed. Right? The light turns green, we keep walking. Our morning coffee gets delivered to us. We grab it in our hand and maybe we start to head to the office. But taking those 30 seconds to reclaim your own attention, find some quietness in your own internal world, even if it's loud. Practice accepting what's here. These are some of the most powerful moments that we can embody that help us come back to a baseline in our nervous system, that help us come back to the present moment. One of the things I love to observe about cities is what they're like at midnight or 2 a.m., and just to notice the difference in energy. Is it still thriving and loud and bustling? Is the city slowly winding down? Is it going to sleep? And for most cities, depending obviously on the neighborhood, but they're never completely shut down, right? There's always that bodega that's open or that 24-hour grocery store. For some cities, there's 24/7 transportation, so we can still hear the buses going or the trains. And this can be very much synonymous with our human minds, right? That even when we take moments to pause, when we take breaks throughout our days, when we come home from a full day, when we try to rest or put our head down on the pillow at night, our mind is still thinking, it's still planning, it's ruminating, it's strategizing, it's replaying the day, constantly telling us what we need to keep doing or what we could have done better, what we haven't done yet. So just like the external construction noise that I noticed when I was meditating, we have that same loud soundtrack internally. And it can pull us away from presence. It can trap us and tighten us. So we can't escape the noise of our mind. We can't escape the noise of our environment, but we can learn how to accept it. We can learn to accept, right now my mind feels really full. Right now I feel exhausted. Right now, I feel buried in my to-do list. Right now, I feel like I don't even want to plan anything. Like when we can practice naming and accepting what's here, and it sounds so simple, but it's actually so challenging to allow ourselves to accept it, grants us this freedom and ease where we're no longer needing to push through the noise or shut our noise down or try to escape the noise in the mind, which becomes like a whack-a-mole. It just shows up in other places. And to practice acceptance means sometimes going slow. Like we can't necessarily accept everything that's here all at once. Sometimes I like to think of our mind like a really disheveled, disorganized, full desk that has so many papers and so much stuff on it that it can just look overwhelming. And when we look at the desk, we don't even know where to begin. And so we become frozen. And that's sometimes how we can be in relationship to our mind. We can hear and see all the things we need to do and we're not doing, and all of the moving parts and pieces of life and all of the adulting. But can we practice just seeing each individual thing and allowing it to be there, right? That's our first step, is to just have the awareness and then the acceptance of what's here. And once we just accept, like, you know what, this desk is full, there becomes this sense of ease. Like, we don't have to fix it. We don't have to make it a project. We don't necessarily have to schedule time on our calendar to organize it. But we get to just practice being with what's here. And that just allows our nervous system to come back to a baseline where we can get oriented. And then from that place, of course, our mind's going to strategize to be like, okay, how do I get to be with this? I'm accepting that this is here, but now I want this to get a little bit more organized. Now I want to be able to find the papers that I need. Now I want the desk to be cleaned. So it's like we can get into the doing. But before we get into the doing, we need to know what's here, and we need to be okay with what's here. And when I say okay, I don't mean I like it or I don't like it. I mean okay that we're just in acceptance that this is the reality that's here. I think a lot of us fall into this trap that we need to fix or escape our life in order to find calm. But what we need is the courage to be able to meet our life more closely, to be able to meet our life and accept what's here, the pleasant, the unpleasant, the neutral. And I talk about this with my clients a lot because we bounce back and forth from doing both the internal work and the external work to be in relationship to what's here. And so the external work could look like, I'm going to organize my desk, right? I'm going to take a tiny action step to just sit and look through the papers that are on my desk and schedule that time on my calendar and just see what's there and see what I want to throw away, see what I want to keep, right? That might be the external action step. But the internal action step would be, I need some support on how to just have capacity to sit here and actually hold my attention enough to know what papers are here. For using this desk analogy, right? We might need some more internal work of how to just orient ourselves to be in the present moment, not go into the fixing or the doing yet. So as we're navigating life in our literal and figurative cities, when life can feel really full and we're running and rushing through everything from meeting to appointment, to dinners, to the gym, to home, to errands, to grocery shopping, to picking up kids or meeting family members or traveling to a museum. Can we practice being in relationship to the speed and the fullness in different ways? So an external way would be maybe paying attention to the pace. What's the pace that I'm walking at that's bringing me from my meeting to my dinner, from dinner to home? Am I rushing? Am I pushing? Am I constantly feeding this internal sense that I'm not doing enough? Or can we think about it from an internal lens? Maybe as we're transitioning from meeting to meeting or work to an appointment to dinner, can we check in with our full mind, our full body, and practice giving it a little bit of space? So maybe that's kind of slowing down this hurry sickness feeling Like we need to rush, we need to get it all done, and rest back into self-trust, like we're going to get it done, or we're going to arrive to that appointment whenever we're going to arrive. I don't need to create extra pressure or push myself more because I know I'm already doing enough. I'm on the train. I'm walking at a pace that is going to get me there. And I can just rest back and allow myself to know that it's enough. Or do we take a more practical external action step and zoom out at our life and ask ourselves, like, are we doing too much? Am I doing too much? Is my plate so full that it's overflowing in a way that's not serving me or anybody else? In a way that's stealing my joy, in a way that is putting me more on autopilot, in a way that's distracting me from what I truly want to prioritize? And can you cut or delegate or ditch things from your list so that you are not needing to just get wrapped up in the doing and the busyness because it's from default? So this is where we can create space. This is where we can start to discern and notice, is the city energy swallowing us whole? Is it life-giving? Is it somewhere in between? And where do I want to create more of the balance? How do I want to be in relationship to the noise, to the stimulation, to the overwhelm that can happen internally and externally? And this doesn't, again, have to be like a negative thing. It can even just be when we're so elevated by it. We're so enthralled by it. We're so energized by it. But we don't want to be on high energy all the time because we're going to eventually crash and burn out. So we need to be able to vacillate between these places of exuberance and also restoration. And depending on each one of you, that's going to look differently because each of us have different capacities and each of us have different needs and each of us get restored in different ways and each of us get lit up by different things. So this is where we get more curious. This is where we get to learn about ourselves and where we can start to manage our energy and our attention. So as we let this episode come to a close, I welcome you to let it settle. Notice what's coming alive for you. Notice your relationship to finding these quiet moments amid the hustle and bustle of city life. Where do you see yourself being able to intentionally create more of these quiet moments, whether you live in a literal or figurative city? What does that get to look like for you in your life? Maybe that's playing with your physical pace, like when you're walking home from work. Instead of taking the subway, maybe you decide to take a long stroll home and let it feel spacious. Let it feel freeing. Maybe you don't fill it with a podcast or even a phone call, and you just let yourself practice listening and being. Maybe you want to practice pausing before you peak, like when your phone vibrates and you feel a notification, that you practice creating space between that stimulus and allowing that spaciousness to be there so that you're not in this automatic response cycle where you're constantly needing to respond or react to the stimuli around you. Maybe it's practicing keeping your phone in your purse, your pocket, when you're waiting in line to order coffee at the grocery store. Can you just take that moment to feel present? Maybe you want to practice being with acceptance, like learning how to really bring more acceptance into your life, into the literal noise that you hear or into the fullness that you notice that's in your mind. Share with me your takeaways. Reach out to me on Instagram at OneWade or send me a note linked in the show notes. And if you are interested in strengthening your own mindfulness muscles, if you are looking for more support in practicing acceptance or wanting to create more of these pauses throughout your day, join us for Mindfulness in May. We are just a few days away from when we begin, and I'd love to see you there. Thank you, as always, for letting me into your ears, your heart, your mind. Share the Centered in the City episode with somebody in your life. And until next time, stay centered.